Hello everyone, it's Frag here, and today's video is going to be a bit different than your normal Sunday gaming video. Since I'm starting to make a real crack at this YouTube thing, I thought it'd be fun to make a video sharing a bit about my journey, and why I made this channel, and what I plan to do with this channel going forward, and all that good stuff. And yeah, so let's get started. So the title of this video is I'm 39, and my journey has just started. Now what does that mean? Well, first of all, a lot of people, when they hear 39, it's like, oh, you're getting into the mid part of life, you're getting into, midlife crisis territory, all that stuff. And, you should be act your age, behave, all these social norms, all that crap. And, to me, that's not me. I mean, sure, I have a steady job, I can adult when I need to, I have a good credit score, all that good stuff. But, I'm a responsible adult in that area, but, for me, I just like to be who I am, and really just enjoy life how I see fit. I don't like to just be in society's norms or whatever, it's just not me. And, that's who I am. And let me give you a brief introduction about my story and how we got here, and so forth. But first of all, I think the best way to start is with my childhood, and that will explain a lot of things. But I want to start with some song lyrics that personally describe my journey. And, it's from a band called Dream Theater. A lot of people probably never heard of them, but they're a progressive metal band from, gosh, the 80s now. But it's from their album in the early 2000s called The 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, which is a fantastic album, by the way, because it has to do with a lot of mental issues, and that's what the whole This Too is about. It's about mental issues that we face and the challenges with that. And the track's called Solitary Shell, and this has to do with on being on the spectrum and autism and all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying I'm autistic, but I do share a lot of autistic traits with that autistic people do have. So I'm not self-diagnosing myself, but I'm just saying I do share some traits. But the lyrics go, as a boy, he was considered somewhat odd, kept to himself most of the time. He would daydream in and out of his own world, but in every other way he was fine. He's a Monday morning lunatic, disturbed from time to time, lost within himself, in his solitary shell. Now that's just a brief part of the song, but what does that mean? Well, as a child, I really felt like I was a loner. I was in my own world because I grew up in a very rural school, and where I lived, I lived a few miles away from the town, so being able to just walk out to the town, play with kids, all that stuff wasn't really feasible because when you're the age of 7 to 10, and the only way to get to town is by highway, it's not really feasible every day just to be able to go into town and play with kids. And I never had any siblings either. I was an only child, so I had that going for me too. Well, I still had great parents. They're awesome, but still, you can only do so much when you're that far away and you have all that going against you. Now, I knew at a young age I was different because of some of my things I enjoyed, and how I would be really into certain things like gaming and cartoons and all that stuff, and I wasn't like the type of person who was into sports or what have you. Stuff that people in a very rural area or a country-ish area would enjoy. And yeah, that led to be bullied. And I probably spent about a good whole school career being bullied. And it was not fun, And also, I really didn't have a lot of friends. And when I say that, I probably had 3 friends my whole school career. So yeah, I had a lot going against me, but there was one thing that really gave me comfort, and it was gaming. And when I started my gaming journey, I think I was about 6 or 7 when I first got the Nintendo Entertainment System. And, at the time, it was like the greatest thing ever for me because I was the type of kid who, really didn't have a lot of friends, who really didn't have, a lot of time to go out and play with other kids. So it was like being able to go to these new worlds, experience these new things. It was just magical. And, I spent a good portion of I spent how many weekends just waking up at 5 a.m. just to play my NES, and so wonderful. And, as the years went on, so did the systems. I graduated from the NES to the Genesis, and I also picked up a Game Gear, a Game Boy, and then 64. And before I knew it, I knew that this gaming was not just like a hobby, or not just like something I would do as a kid, like action figures, or toy cars, or whatever. I knew this gaming was more to my life. And the gaming really, I started to learn was my coping mechanism. And, if anyone ever watched the show The IT Crowd, it's probably my favorite show, by the way, but if anyone ever watched that show, you know of a character named Richmond. And one of the bits is he discovered the band Cradle of Filth, and he would come home and listen to Cradle of Filth because whenever he had a bad day, the filth would be comforting to him. That's what gaming was to me. And gaming really was my sort of escape, and as I grew older, it didn't just become an important part of my life. It really became the point of reasoning to where I am today. And in my professional life as well. So there's 2 spots where I think I really need to, focus on. And really it was, I can't remember the year now, it was maybe 2000-ish or so. I was over at a friend's house, and I had an N64 at the time. So I never really had the chance to play a lot of RPGs. I mean, I did play Pokemon, but I never really considered Pokemon to be a true RPG. I mean, it is, but at the time, I was a kid. I was not really knowing of what an RPG was. And he was playing this game called Final Fantasy IX. And I was just like, what are you playing? I was enthralled by this game, because I'm like, wow, look at all these detailed worlds and all this good stuff. So yeah, I, latched on to that. And then what happened was, after I latched on to that, I knew this was I need to play more of this. So by the time I got my PS2, back in 2001, I got my copy of Final Fantasy, and I just fell in love with that genre. And really, I fell in love because it was the critical thinking of it. It was not just, oh, I'm in a new world and I get to explore it, that's great, but I love just the idea of oh, I gotta build my character up now, I gotta think about what weapons to use, what attacks to use that deal this damage and that damage, and I really love that logical thinking about it. And, that was one thing that stayed in my brain. I was I really like this logical thinking. And then the other thing that really set me on my career path was I was watching Tech TV because over the past few years I discovered, I'm into also computers and stuff and tech. And, I saw on the show Call for Help, and I remember this vividly, a caller came in and was like, well, how do you make video games? And, Leo Laporte at the time, explained, programming and all that stuff, and I was like, huh. And I'm not saying that I want to make video games, but I looked into the programming and I'm like, I think this is what I want to do in my life. I love the idea of just creating something and just using that logic out of the video game stuff. So, yeah. So really, because of my love of JRPGs, it grew into a career of programming because I love the logical thinking and all that good stuff. But yeah, so that was a little bit about my childhood. But now I want to really speed run, my life from here to about 2 or 3 years ago. So I went to college, and that's where I met my good friends. And I still have my friends to this day. They're awesome. But that's where I met my crew, and that's where I really discovered, my love for anime, and really fleshed out who I am as a nerd. Now I'm into like tabletop, all that stuff as well, card games like Magic, you name it. So college was really a great experience for me, but after college, I never really felt I went anywhere in my life. I mean, yeah, I had good jobs and stuff, but I never really felt like I had my own identity, my own life. Because what happened was, I got out of school, and yeah, I'm in a good spot, with jobs and security and all that stuff, but I never really found that sort of like social interaction that I desperately needed out of school. Like, I still had extreme social anxiety. I still had, feelings that I wasn't good enough, and feelings that, I'm not going to amount to anything. And even with relationships, within like that 15 or so year period, I picked people that wasn't right for me because I just wanted to be someone to feel like I was worth it to someone. And big mistake, because I found people who wasn't right for me, and it just ended up badly. And it just didn't work out, So for 15 years, I just was in the headspace of, I didn't feel like I was right for people. I didn't feel like I was good enough. And I never really had like that sort of sense of self-worth, self-love. And it really was a turnoff for me. And, I still have my gaming, I still have my hobbies and stuff that I did with friends, but for the most part, I had a sense of feeling that, I wasn't getting what I wanted out of life. Even though I had a good job, even though I had, security in my life with like, just having a place to live, just having money saved up and all that stuff, I still didn't have that feeling of like I was doing what I wanted in my life. So then, I did one thing that probably was a good bet for me, and I got therapy. I got help. And, I found a great therapist who really helped me through a lot of my problems. But, I still was lacking that feeling of I didn't feel like I was doing much in my life. I mean, to me, I'm a high energy person, wants to feel like, I'm doing more than just going home, going to work, going home, playing games. So, after a few failed attempts of streaming and trying to do YouTube, I felt lost. And that's what a coworker recommended to me, the idea of, manifestation and self-help. So I decided to try that. And, I'm not going to get into all the new age crap here, but I did find that it put me in a way better headspace. I felt like I'm at the point now where I feel like I can control my destiny, and I feel like now I have a clearer picture with what I want to do with life, and this directly ties into this channel. So the whole point now is I feel like I want to give this YouTube a very good shot. What I want to do with this YouTube channel, and I realized after, all the hardships I've been through, all the crap I've been through, and I know people have worse journeys than me, I get that. But, even my journey, I'm thinking to myself, like, I can sit here, I can dwell on my life, or I can do something about this, and, I'm the type of person who likes to help people. I don't know what they call it, one of those tests, the INFJ test, or Myers-Briggs, or whatever they call it. I am the so-called type of healer. I like to help people. So I figured, I love gaming. Why don't I create a channel that's about positivity, that's about being here to help people, and maybe I can help build a community of people who want to see each other get better, see each other do well, see each other just want to, live a happy life, build each other up, and let's make great things together. Because, to me, I still have a lot of social anxiety. I find it extremely hard, even nowadays, just to go to places and just talk to people who I don't know. And it's just something that's always been a problem in my life. But I'm thinking nowadays, why don't I have this channel so I can help myself with my social anxiety, but also use it as a way to just have fun and to help possibly give people some positivity in life, some hope, something to look forward to, I just want to be a good presence in people's lives, and if I can help people, whether they just be relaxed or feel better, or hell, maybe improve their life somehow if they're going through something, and I can help them with that, that'd be awesome. And I'm not doing this channel for money or for fame. I have enough money as it is right now where I'm happy, I'm comfortable, and I don't need fame. Fame's nothing to me. But knowing that I'm able to help someone, that's really, what I like to do. So, if I can one day just get recognized at a con or something and say thank you for helping or how my video did something, that's awesome. And that's really, my dream. Just to one day have someone really appreciate my videos, even if it's just one person, That's all I care about. So I'm just using this channel as a way to have fun, to heal myself, to get myself better as a person, and just help people. And hopefully, my content will help, people feel something better about themselves, and really just focus on fun. No politics, no negativity, just a good positive experience. I mean, yeah, I will occasionally complain about games and stuff, but I'm not doing it to be like, oh, this series sucks or whatever, just to have fun. So that's my goal of my channel, just to make this a fun, positive space. And even with my social media and my Discord and all that stuff, I just want it to be a fun place we can go hang out, relax, and, hopefully help each other become better people. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and my story. It's not, all my hobbies and stuff that we'll definitely get into at other times, but I just want to make this a little bit about me and something that just describes what I plan to do with this channel going forward and how I want this channel to be. So yeah, the title of this video is I'm 39 and my journey's just started. And really, that's where I feel like, at this point, my journey's just starting. Even though I'm 39 years old, almost 40 in a few months, I feel like I'm here just to start a brand new journey in life and just to see where it leads. So yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. If you made it this far, personally, thank you for watching this, and I hope you stick around, and I hope you enjoy my content in the future. I don't know where it's going to lead, but we're all in this together, and I hope you enjoy this journey. Thank you.